basically everything comes back to all the tax rules really come back to land. So it's housing, oil and gas, and it's farming. They're all land tax breaks. You've got guys like Jerry Jones who owns the Dallas Cowboys Regatta Circle, is a big apartment complex. So he owned that at one point in time. He didn't own that because he wasn't making plenty of money elsewhere, and wanted to be in real estate. He bought that to defer taxes.
Welcome back to The Broke Billionaires, where we document our daily struggles in building wealth while raising a young family. Join us as we talk creative wealth building for everyday people and couples that are struggling in a down economy. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Joshua Masari, and we'll be your hosts.
On today's episode, we're interviewing James Keller and Vivian Yip. Vivian, formerly a program manager at Apple, fully embraced real estate in 2018 with her real estate agent husband, James, flipping homes while managing their careers and raising 2 kids. A year later, they began furnishing affordable properties for extended stays, a move that thrived during the pandemic and simplified property management. Today, they own 9 properties and manage 30 in the Austin area. Let's welcome James and Vivian.
All right, guys, welcome to the show. Appreciate you being on today. Thank you for taking the time to do this. And let's go ahead and get started here. Why don't you guys give us kind of your backstory on where you came from and kind of how you got to where you are today?
I'll let James go first.
Okay. Little backstory, I guess. We just want to go back as far as real estate goes. I started off my first venture into let's say real estate was really in high school, back in when they actually had useful classes in high school. I was in a small town, and we actually had what's called a construction trades class. And so
nice.
Juniors and seniors, with a teacher that's basically the GC, build a house from ground up.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it is by far the most useful class that I've ever had. For what we do. And do I use organic chemistry for anything in my life today? Did I in college? Not at all. But that class was amazing. So built a house there, and then after college, a friend of mine needed to build a house, and me and him and his dad built a house, and from the ground up as well. And that was basically kind of how I got started, and that's what really made us be able to transition into flipping homes. That's kind of the first thing we did when we first really got in real estate here in Austin was house flipping, and we flipped our first 7 houses with full-time corporate jobs. So that was kind of how we got started before it snowballed into these other areas.
When did you start flipping? Do you remember what year it was?
Vivian was 2018 or 19? 18.
Okay, so pretty recent. Yeah. Okay.
Wait, I want to go back real quick. Where did you go to high school? Where did you grow up? Because that is the coolest thing I've ever heard about.
I know.
That's awesome.
I grew up in a small town in southern Illinois, 10,000 people.
Okay.
That was back when you had a called T&I class. You would actually tear apart an engine, a lawnmower engine, and rebuild it. It had to work. There's nothing like that for kids nowadays.
No,
there's not. I grew up with the same thing. So I actually went to a school. There was 200. Our student body was like 200. Very small. It was a town of like 600 people. And I had a construction class too. There was a general contractor that was, contractor in the summer, and then during the school year, he was a teacher. And we would do this. We did those sheds. So we would build sheds. And I was probably the only one in the class that actually did any work, but I learned a lot. And then we would sell them. So we'd sell them and split it, like the classmates would all split it. But I ended up getting like 90% of all the profit because I think I did most of the work. So you just said, here, just take it. But that's where I got, kind of my construction hands-on experience. It wasn't a ground-up house. That's pretty cool that you guys were able to do that.
Yeah, it's so cool.
I did get, just getting everything squared and learning how to use tools and things like that.
I don't think those programs exist anymore in public schools because I grew up in Canada and we had electronics class, we had workshop woodworking, things like that, and they don't have those in high school anymore.
Well, you just YouTube it now anyway.
Yeah, they're so focused on orchestra, which is great, and art programs, but I feel like we've lost a lot of those trade programs that are needed.
Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. I couldn't agree
Yeah,
more.
AI is not going to replace home builders. It's not going to replace
Yeah.
electricians. It's not going to replace plumbers.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, just definitely. I know that the trades are definitely in dire need of people because because as people are retiring, they're not getting replaced. So they talk about a big shortage and costs are going up because there's demand still. There's more demand, but there's not people to fill those roles. So it is becoming more of an issue. So hopefully, I don't know, something needs to change. I think down the road, but
Yeah.
we'll see where that goes. So what about you, Vivian?
Ooh, my real estate background comes from a kid. My parents were real estate investors, and I grew up in Canada, as I mentioned earlier. So my parents did a little bit of real estate before they immigrated to Canada, but once they came to Canada, my mom worked for a bank. So she had really, really good mortgage rates, and they were able to purchase properties over time in Vancouver, in Calgary, and in Toronto. So I spent my childhood collecting coins from the laundromat at an apartment building my parents owned. And every weekend, we would be either collecting rent or driving by properties and walking new properties. So that was something that I had always been exposed to from a very early age. And now that I'm in my 40s and my parents are in their 80s, I can see how they're reaping the rewards of the effort they put into their life. And they get to enjoy the fruits of all their investments. And it's pretty cool because right now we're kind of in the middle of it all and we can see what it can be.
From firsthand. That's really I appreciate that you said that because we're really in the trenches building ours right now.
Totally. And
So
sometimes you're like, why are we doing that?
yes.
Uh, and here in California, I mean, these properties are just so expensive to buy something that needs to be completely just redone. And a lot of times we live through these renovations. So we'll take something down to the studs and then get it livable as soon as possible, but we're still living in it for another year or two while we're finishing up renovations. And we finish it, it's beautiful, it's done, and then we move and do the next one. And so we never actually get to enjoy them. But we know, like in the long run, that equity gain and just the property renting and paying for itself is going to be huge in the end. As we build and keep doing this, so we can definitely understand that. Now, are both of you guys full time in real estate now, or do you still maintain another? Like for us, it's a side gig still. But where are you guys at in that?
We're full time. So
Okay.
I am, we're both real estate agents. I'm really the
Okay.
only, I'd say, active real estate agent on the retail side. As far as listing and helping buyers in real estate. Vivian's doing more of the um, property management and the midterm rental part. But yeah, we're both 100% in. So I jumped out first after our roughly seventh flip. We got to a point where we felt comfortable where uh, I could leave my job and start concentrating on the flips full time and not just in the evenings and weekends, and actually have some time to spend with the kids. Uh, and uh, and then what? I guess a year and a half or so later, then Vivian was able to jump out as well. So I'll let her talk about that.
Well, I think that I came to a point where I couldn't bear working another day in corporate anymore.
Hmm.
Right? I had a really, really demanding job. I was in operations at Apple for almost 7 years, so I was
Oh wow.
constantly in the grind, right? Even though Apple was like a $1 trillion company, we would function like mini startups in all of the different departments. So
Mm-hmm.
it was always a grind, and it got to a point for me where the stress was so bad when I was launching iPhone 12, which is Apple's hero product during a pandemic. There were so many things that I couldn't control, but so many things that I was responsible for. And I got to this teetering point where I end up losing all my hair in 8 weeks.
Gosh.
And when your
Oh my
body,
gosh. 8.
yeah, 8 to 10 weeks, I would say the majority of it came out in 8 weeks. It just kept falling out and falling out and falling out. And I was like, whoa, this is a sign that my body is telling me that I'm at this tipping point.
Hmm.
Max, what's his name? Malcolm Gladwell. He talks
Yeah.
about a tipping point in everything, right? And this was my tipping point of when do I start pursuing something I'm passionate about or continue
Mm-hmm.
down this path of a miserable life that I hate so much.
Wow.
Yeah, that's so when you're telling the kids they're stressing you out, your hair's falling out. It's a real
It's a real thing.
Well, trust happens to people in different ways, and that's how it happened to me.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wow. That's so then you jumped into real estate, kind of joining James at that point, or how did that transition happen?
I would say the transition didn't happen overnight. It was like a skill set and life that we've been building for 2.5 years prior, fantasizing about being real estate investors full time. And
Mm-hmm.
the transition took a lot of courage, right? Leaving that corporate job with the benefits, with the healthcare, with the bonuses and the restricted stock units. Those are things that you are feeling like you're going to miss out on. So I had to do a crazy mindset shift and learn to believe that staying in my job was actually keeping me from reaching my life's full potential.
Okay. Wow.
And that's why they do those incentives, because it makes you think twice about leaving it. That's what the purpose of that is. But
The goal to have.
Yeah, it's so true. So when you made that transition then, I mean, how would you say now are your roles very much intertwined, or do you guys kind of stay in your lane and have separate things you're focusing on, or how are you working together currently?
Yeah, I would say the latter now. At first we were doing flips more together.
Mhm.
And then, it kind of happened everywhere, but certainly one of the bigger areas was in Austin in May of 2022 when interest rates started shooting up and the market here went up drastically, but then it started coming down pretty quickly too. And so then we kind of transitioned into just doing traditional real estate as far as on my side, doing real estate sales. And at that point, we probably diverged because we needed to, you got to pivot. When the market changes on a dime, you got to figure it out and do something else. So she started kind of running with the MTR, the midterm rentals, and that part of it, and I started more focusing on just being just a retail real estate agent, and been doing that for the last 2 or 3 years, and letting the market kind of settle out. We didn't want to catch a falling knife, you know
Yeah.
go and buy a property and it's worth 10% less than what you bought it for in 3 months.
We've been seeing that here because I mean, there's a lot of people that we know personally that got stuck in that. Bought a property a year and a half ago. About the same time we bought the current project that we're finishing up, but we don't flip. We renovate, do everything like we're flipping, but then we refinance it and hold it long term. So that exit's a little different for us. But we know some people that got stuck and are still. Some of them are still trying to offload properties, and I mean, people have lost $150,000-$200,000 on these deals. So it's it can get real scary real fast.
Oh, we feel lucky. We only lost $80,000 on that one project.
100.
Yeah.
100,000.
Yeah.
Right. But at the
Especially-
end of the day, we feel good about it because we did it. We lost our own money. We didn't lose anybody else's money.
Mm-hmm.
That's for me.
Doesn't
That's
feel good,
very-
but it's better. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can understand that.
I don't know.
Better for sure.
Well,
Yeah.
you have that little guilt in the back of your head that it wasn't yours,
Like,
but at least,
yeah.
I get where you're coming from.
But everybody in real estate has to know it's not if you're going to lose money, it's when you're going to lose money. Because
Yeah.
It's
at
so
some
true.
point in time, whatever economic cycle it is, you're going to lose money at some point in time. And we've lost money before. We lost money when we purchased a condo back in 2007, but at the height of the market before the downturn for the Great Recession. So, but the thing is, like, you have to focus on the wins and not the losses. We've definitely won a lot more than we've lost.
Sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
What do you guys feel are some of the sacrifices that you've made in this journey? Like something that you've just had to really, personally or even business wise, just sacrifices that you've made to get where you're at now.
I think when we were getting started, we were still seeing a lot of our friends having parties, going on vacation, doing things with their kids. And we instead spent all of our weekends and after work going to Home Depot and renovating and managing contractors, while we were seeing our friends have fun and spending all this money on vacations and stuff, we were living pretty frugally because we were trying to anticipate becoming financially free and free from having a paycheck. So we
Yeah.
had to learn how to manage our expenses and learn how to manage our time and put forth the effort to building this life that we imagined we could have. So we gave up a lot of
That makes
social
sense.
activities for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like we're kind of in that stage still. I'm doing construction every single weekend, and
I joke that I'm a single mom on the weekends because I've
Yeah.
got all 3 kids and he's, physically doing a lot of the work. And now the kids are the older 2, the boys are, helping, as if you can say helping. They love to work with dad. Probably makes the projects take longer. But it has been nice to kind of start to integrate a little bit of weirdly family time into doing the work because now they can, use their own drills and fun stuff with dad. But
Yeah,
so
we
made
haven't
it a
released them
family
on the
affair.
drills yet, but our first flip we ever did, it was laminate flooring, and I mean they were little. How old were they? They were
6 and
uh,
7.
6 and 7, 6 and 8, and they were in there, had their gloves on, put their glasses on, and they were ripping up flooring. Like get
so
after it.
good. So good. I
I'll
love
let the
it.
kids. So ours are 5, I guess tomorrow, 5 and 3, but they've got all their own toolboxes with their they got all their safety glass goggles and masks
masks.
and everything. And I'll let them run the saw once in a while. I'll give them like a multi tool, and they'll get to cut a little 2x4 or something, and they feel pretty special.
Right.
But
It's so great.
It's fun.
Yeah, even now we're making sacrifices. We have friends that are planning for spring break and everything, and we just paid a bunch of property taxes, so we're not going anywhere for spring break.
Yeah.
Property
Yeah.
taxes in Austin and insurance all went up so much that
Oh,
man, it's a little painful this year. It feels like.
Well, Texas in general, I feel like, because we've got properties in Texas, and it's expensive.
6 and a half dozen the other. They're going to get your money
Well, you
regardless.
have no
So
income tax.
we have
Yeah.
no state income tax, right?
Right.
So they make it up somewhere.
Yeah.
That's basically how that works. But yeah, it was a rough spring, when everybody else is, just going on vacation. We're like, I just paid, let's see, my personally between uh, taxes and then property taxes, it was
It's like 42,000.
$50,000 so far this spring.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not
that's not even
fun. Yeah, we've got
Not
properties,
fun.
California. I mean, the California ones are expensive, but it's funny because the Texas ones, the properties are a lot less expensive, but the taxes are almost the same.
Yeah.
And then we've got South Carolina. Our South Carolina portfolio is pretty reasonable still. So that those properties cash flow really nicely and have a good return because taxes are lower. But there is income tax there, but we don't have to deal with that because we don't live there. So okay, so what got you into the MTR space? Like when you started doing midterm rentals, did you just fall into that, or was that something you said, I want to try this and go for that? And I know, Vivian, that's kind of your area.
So it was on our 6th flip that I read a book called Tax Free Wealth. Have you read it yet?
That sounds familiar.
It sounds familiar, but I have not read it.
So obviously most of us have read Rich Dad Poor Dad. Robert
Sure.
Kiyosaki. His CPA wrote a book called Tax Free Wealth by Tom Wheelwright.
Oh, okay.
And after I read that book, I was like, we are so dumb because we're flipping houses and we have a W-2 job. So not only are we paying an active income on our W-2 job, then we're also paying taxes on our active income and flips. So I read this
No
book and
depreciation.
it basically spells out why the rich people invest in real estate because the tax code is written for real estate investors. So then I had this bright idea. I'm like, okay, well, we're going to keep a property. So we made enough money to keep a property. And I was like, this is the perfect house because it's just north of Austin. There's no permitting, no deed restrictions, no HOA. Let's turn it into a short-term rental. That was in the summer of 2019. And that summer, I was so excited because who doesn't love designing a home, spending money,
Yeah.
like retail therapy, right? For us, I'm not really a spender when it comes to buying things, but if it's for business and it's a write-off, quote unquote, it's always justifiable, right?
Just fun.
Totally. And, I spent a lifetime behind spreadsheets doing analytical work. So being able to use is it the left side of my brain, the creative side, and
Yeah.
start doing the decor and stuff like that. That was like awesome. which led me to running short-term rentals. And then the pandemic hit. And then Airbnb started canceling reservations. Guests started canceling plans. They weren't traveling anymore. They couldn't get on their flights. They couldn't cross borders or between states. And I was like, whoa, this is nuts. Like, what do I do next? And I called a friend of mine in San Diego. He's like, why don't you try travel nurses or try corporate rentals? And I was like, okay, well, what's the worst that can happen? And so I switched and I ended up getting a reservation from a couple that was building a house. They were from California. They needed a place for 3 months. And I was like tripling rent, long-term rent. And then I hardly had to do any work. And then I had a construction team stay and they were more than double rent. And they negotiated with me a little bit because construction teams' budgets are a little bit smaller. But I was still more than doubling long-term rent and doing very little work for a 7-month contract. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
So that's how I pivoted into midterm rentals, and I am not looking back. I love midterm rentals because it's a powerful cash flow strategy, and it's also a really good use of my time.
Well, yeah, it doesn't take as much time as the short term.
Could not agree more on the time.
Definitely.
Yeah.
People forget. They're like, oh, I can make 4 to 6 times on my short-term rental. But I'm like, how much of that is your cleaning fees? How much of that is consumables? And how much is your time worth?
Well, people don't realize they don't ever calculate or think about it until they're in it, the vacancy. Because if I can rent it for this much a night, I'm getting 30. You're not getting 30 nights. You're getting 22 at best. So people don't consider that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday that they're not capturing revenue on. And I think once they get into it, they realize it's not as good as they thought it was going to be because they kind of overlooked that.
Yeah.
James, are you on the MTR portfolio? Do you do much with that, or is that are you helping get these properties ready? Or
Yeah, so I get called in for emergency stuff, so which seems like to be a weekly thing, but
the handyman.
So she's she also manages about 30 MTRs now here in Austin. So for instance, we got a guy that's trying to get his permit for short-term rentals, and it's got to be the smoke detectors had to be interconnected and they had to be CO2. And anyway, it's like, I've got an inspection coming Friday. I don't know if it's ready. And it wasn't. So I got it over there and got it ready to go. Like quick little things like that. There's always something going wrong when you have this many properties.
Yeah, no, I
do you guys have a team in place, or is it just the two of you doing these?
Oh, we
got a team. She can explain that.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got a couple of virtual assistants. I've got a boots on the ground ops person. I have my partner that handles all the accounting stuff. So yeah, we've got a team. But James is the one that has the highest skill set that can solve pretty much any problem in one visit, as opposed to trying to call multiple people to solve multiple problems. So his honey-do list extends beyond our primary.
I feel that.
The only thing that I can't really solve is HVAC, right? I mean, sometimes I can.
That's
it depends on what it is. But sometimes there's things that's like it's low on freon, and there's some sort of issue
that's
that.
tricky.
But I recently at our lake house installed a couple of mini splits. Had a neighbor that had all the tools and gauges and everything. It was way easier than I thought it was going to be, as long as you had the right equipment. And then so I started looking online. I was like, all right, we have all these properties that we're managing, plus our properties. So how hard is it to get licensed to be licensed HVAC person? It's like online you can do it for like a couple $1,000. So I'm like, I'm considering doing that and being my own HVAC guy.
Yeah,
there you go.
Because especially where it's hot, there's always going to be a need for.
Yeah, especially there. Oh my gosh, definitely.
I did my first mini split on an ADU that we have two summers ago, and it took me a little longer than it should have, but I did it, and it's been working great. I haven't had any issues, and figured it out. Just a quick disclaimer. The information shared on this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered as financial, tax, or legal advice. Always consult with a qualified professional before making any financial decisions. Your individual circumstances may differ and require specific strategies not discussed here. Now, let's get back to the show. All right, so you guys have 30 properties on the MTR side. How many of those properties do you guys own versus co-hosting or managing?
9 doors are ours.
Okay, nice.
Yep.
Right.
What are some of the challenges you see with MTRs that you've run into so far?
Oh, mail and remote controls for garages are the most
Ooh,
annoying things. And
okay.
we don't like we in our rental agreement, they sign off and say that they will get themselves a PO box, but for some reason
Mhm.
they always send mail into the house and we tell them we don't have a
Oh,
key. These are investment properties. They've never been registered as residences, so we don't have access to the boxes yet. It seems to be a problem. People keep mailing personal things like government stuff. I'm like, no, that stuff can't go into our homes. The other thing is missing garage remotes. That's really annoying. So we have to get them reprogrammed all the time.
Hmm.
Um,
no.
I mean, midterm rentals, as long as you do the upfront work of screening your guests properly, we get really great guests.
Yeah.
That's what I love about it.
Yeah.
I have a question for you. So I know I've done like a bunch of your training videos and seminars and things you've done, and there was one that you had talked about. I think it was for one of the master classes. It wasn't the master class, but there was one thing that you said that is completely different from what we see here. So we were talking, I'm like, I just don't know if that system works because it sounds like it's a totally different market. And what I'm referring to is you had said that you don't take future bookings, that most of your bookings are last minute and you kind of gear everything towards that. Whereas us, we almost all of our bookings are in the future. We're booked out 6 months almost always on all of our properties. So we'll get like a 4-month booking come in over the summer, and then we'll get gaps. So we'll have like a 30, maybe like a 4 to 6 week gap. And those gaps we usually fill with the insurance placements. Those are the kind of the last minute ones that come in. But we almost always are solid booked for 6 months out. And so I'm just curious if that's the market or if that's just the way that you run your business and you try to stay away from those and what the reasoning is on that.
So we prioritize those midterm rental bookings, and the booking behavior for midterm rentals in almost all markets is last minute because nobody plans on relocating more than 2 weeks in advance. Pretty much, especially if you get a job offer, you get 2 weeks notice and you're in your new desk, right? Or nobody plans to burn their house down. No one plans to flood their house. So our midterm rental bookings are almost always last minute, and we prioritize the midterm rental strategy. How we do that is we control our booking calendar. So we open up our calendar 365 days so that we're completely and entirely visible. The second thing we do is then we only take short-term bookings in the next 2-week window. And that could change depending on how your market books. You could do it only short-term bookings between now and the next 5 days. And then after that, you only do 30-day bookings. So we're really careful about controlling bookings because if someone wants a 6-month lease with us and we have future bookings, I'm going to get penalized by making those cancellations trying to accommodate that guest.
So you're talking about short. Okay. So to clarify, we don't do short term. Period. We can't. It's not legal. And most cities in California, most places in California either have legislation coming or have already enacted it, and they don't. I mean, even Anaheim, where Disneyland is, just outlawed it last year, and so they can't even do short term anymore. So there's no short term is really not an option here, and it's becoming some of the beach cities that have a lot of vacation rentals. It'll always be an option. That you have to get permits and licenses and all that. But for the most part, these cities that are slightly inland or just a lot of these community cities don't want that. So it's been outlawed. So we only take midterm, but our midterm bookings are usually in advance, and they're we get a lot of transitional living. So somebody that's moving to Southern California for work, and they're just looking for a place for 2 to 3 months till they get on their feet and figure out where they want to be at. We'll get, people coming we had some athletes, some U.S. Olympic athletes last summer that came for training. They were training in Anaheim, and so they stayed for 4 months. We've got some people right now, like digital nomads. They're from Canada, and they came for a 3-month booking, and they come to California once a year. And so they booked like 4 or 5 months in advance, 4 months in advance.
So we don't even accept those. We don't like to fill our calendars. We don't like to fill our calendars after they've made their booking, right? Because so right now it's February. If someone blocks my calendar for a booking in May, now I have to try and find that perfect client that's going to book that time period. So for me, I just try to keep it as tight as possible.
So that's why. So you only take, okay. So if someone came in and said, hey, I want to book this property from June to end of the year, you would not, that's something you would shy away from.
No, we would take that.
I think it depends if they're going to pay a premium for blocking my calendar that far in advance, because then I have to find that perfect client that's going to fill the calendar. Luckily for us, we can stuff the gaps with
The
short-term
short
rental.
term. That's so nice. Yeah.
Yeah, but with
So we prevent gaps, small gaps. So our gaps, as long as we have at least a 30-day gap, we're okay. Because what we've noticed is when we have that 30-day gap, we will get those last minute insurance placements. There's a lot of people that have been bouncing around between Airbnbs. You know, their house was supposed to take a month and it was 2 months and it was 3 months. And so they'll bounce around. They'll just need somewhere for another 30 days. And so we'll get those 30-day requests coming in for those situations. And that's usually how we get our last, if we have a gap, we'll take it. But
yeah.
But most of our stuff is booked well in advance, like it's planned. So I just don't know if that's more of a different market that we're in here. I don't know. And maybe part of it too is the dollar amount that we're renting for. So this is a higher end area. The homes that we're doing are higher end, more, I wouldn't say a luxury home, but borderline luxury home. We're putting luxury appliances in these and we're kind of at the top of the market. So maybe it's a dollar amount thing too, that it's just a demographic that we're catering to without realizing what we're doing. But I'm just curious because it does seem like it's a different business model, or the requests that come in are different.
Yeah. Where are you getting your insurance bookings from? Are they coming in from the relocation companies, or the clients are finding you guys directly?
Airbnb, from clients directly. So they'll get reimbursed from insurance, but they usually come direct.
Got it. Yeah.
So the placement providers, because we rarely have a last minute availability because it's booked so far in advance. So typically, unless we just December, we had December to January, there was a 5-week gap because we had a transitional family that had come for the fall and then they left, and then we had some other bookings that started in February. It was a pre-planned one, but we had it was a 5 or 6 week gap over the holidays, and the holidays nobody's moving, nobody's really doing much, which is always going to be a hard time to fill. But we had an insurance placement. Somebody just reached out and they just did it through Airbnb and got reimbursed, and so that's. We'll get those last minutes. And then when we have those last minutes, we will have the placement provider start reaching out for availability. But, we just don't normally have availability because it's booked out so far. And they're not, we're not getting those leads because, no one's waiting 4 months to place somebody.
Yeah. So I have it set up so that if they want to do an advance booking, then they have to book 60 days or more. Because I don't want someone to book and block 1 month in June. If they're going to take the time in June, they're going to have to book 60 days at minimum.
Yeah, well, most of ours are longer. Like we just took a booking for this one actually came in from apartments.com. Do you use apartments.com?
Because we don't manage all of our properties, I feel like my VA team's had some struggles with them. I need to spend some time with them on it.
So surprisingly, we are getting a lot of leads from apartment.com for furnished, because they do furnish. I think it's like furnishedcorporaterentals.com or something. They've got other websites in their umbrella, and they do furnished rentals. And so we've been getting a decent amount of leads from apartments.com. We just took a 4-month booking. It was a $20,000 booking.
Nice.
Over the summer. And so, we've been definitely getting some leads from that. But the ones that come in, I think our average booking is about, it's like 9 weeks, I think, is usually our average. So we'll get those 30-day ones once in a while, but usually it's just the gaps and just somebody that needs something last minute. But most of our bookings are like 3 to 4 months.
Yeah. Ours is 3 to 4 months as well. And I love it when they extend, which is why I don't like
the best.
Which is why I don't like to block off my calendar with a reservation feature. Because at the end of the day, I want to be able to give a family the opportunity to extend, because obviously they're comfortable in our properties, and I don't want to disrupt their stay by having to move them because I have an advance booking.
So we just love it though whenever they say they're doing a remodel in their home. Like, our contractor said it was going to take 3 months. We're like, sure.
Yeah.
Place you. We'll mentally prepare for 6 months. Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, do you ever have families that are moving then between the midterm rentals that you currently have? If you're like, well, this one's booked, but we can move you to this one, or do you really try to keep them just in the one they've started the reservation with?
Typically, I call it my bait and trap system, because once I get them in there, I've controlled my advance booking so they can stay pretty much as long as they want to, as long as they give me 15 days notice. Because like I said, we typically don't take those future bookings. So our calendars are open for extensions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So that we don't normally have that. Well, I guess we do on the ones that are farther out, but most of these bigger bookings that we're getting are people that are coming from out of state for a set period of time, or they're moving and they're like, our company's paying for 2 months and then we got to find our own place. So it's like we haven't really had, on the bigger properties, we haven't had extension requests. But the smaller, we have studios. The studios that we have, we do get extensions on those. We have a travel nurse now. We actually have 2 people that have extended. One of them's been there for, almost a year now. And she moved from LA down to Orange County and was planning on, finding an apartment, and then just really likes the place and it's all set up and just keeps extending. So we're like, okay, that's fine. But yeah, it's interesting.
What do you guys have any projects that you're really excited about that you're working on, or kind of like looking forward to, or anything like that at the moment?
Yeah, I just started a flip, the first flip I've done in a while. So pretty excited about that. It's in our neighborhood, which I love. It is 3 minutes from my house. So absolutely love that. Makes life so much easier. But yeah, we just got that one started. It's our neighborhood's one of those old, original, beautiful neighborhoods with large half-acre to three-quarter-acre lots, and you bought your lot, and then you got your own builder, and you built your house, and so every house in the neighborhood is different. There's not it's not a cookie cutter type neighborhoods.
Yeah.
The only thing that the big rule was in this neighborhood is that you're not allowed to have your garage door face the street. So all you see is the house, right?
And it has a pickleball court.
Oh yeah, so the house that we bought under contract with has a pickleball court in the back, which is strangely enough super popular now. So that'll be a selling point for us. But
what part of Austin are you guys in?
so we are, northwest Austin.
Okay.
Yeah.
I used to travel to Austin a lot. I worked for Kendra Scott back in the day I was in retail management for a long time. So I've spent a lot of time in Austin and love it. But yeah, those were not the neighborhoods that were downtown Austin where we usually were. So.
We're just north of the Domain. We're still in the city of Austin.
Okay. Love it. That's a beautiful area. Okay. Hey guys, if you're finding value or just want to follow along on our journey, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. That would help us tremendously. You can also follow us on Instagram @TheBrokeMillionaires and be sure to share with your friends. Now let's get back to the show.
And I'm just growing out my educational program, trying to help people transition into the midterm rental space. A lot of people struggle with midterm rentals because they don't understand how midterm rentals work in general. I feel like it's an entirely different strategy from short-term rentals. And I've decided that I need to spend some time with helping people get their property ready for midterm rental leases. How do you execute things quickly? What do you need to look out for in leases? I think too many people are doing the standard lease, and I teach it differently. I get it. At 30 days, it's tenancy. But how do you avoid eviction court? You avoid eviction court with a contract that is basically determining that it's not a landlord-tenant relationship, but it is a transient space. I have all of my guests sign this document, even if they're doing a short stay and a mid stay, that they declare that they're using my property for transient purposes only. They have no intention for an extended stay. They have no intention to take residency. And I try to ensure that we're clear on that relationship before they move into my property. Because I've had it happen before where someone decided that they weren't going to check out because they wanted to extend their stay. Well, when I called the police, they're like, oh, this is a civilian issue. And I said, actually, it's not a civilian issue. because we have an agreement that they are planning on using my property for transient purposes only, and that it's a guest and owner relationship. And they're like, oh, okay, then we can come and take them out for criminal trespassing.
Definitely a difference, because we get that a lot too, is everyone that either is doing short term or has done long term and had issues, when they hear midterm, they're like, well, 30 days, it's going to open me up to squatters.
Yeah, people get very nervous about that.
That's definitely
and,
true.
There are stories, because people hear the story. They hear the stories that make the news. There was one last summer it was an Airbnb guest that was renting an ADU, and after the initial check-in, they went to extend and they went off the platform, and that was the owner's mistake right there, was taking the booking off platform after the checkout date.
I believe that platform or not, if they intend to squat, there's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Even if it was on Airbnb, what's Airbnb going to do? Are they going to send the police over? They're not going to do anything. I think it's a matter of having screening tools. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely, like pre-screening and making sure that you're putting the right people in there. But this case was it was a big deal when it hit the news. The guy called Airbnb, and Airbnb just kind of said, well, the booking checked out 3 months ago. This is not our problem. And so he didn't get any help from them. But the squatter ended up winning in court, and the owner had to pay $150,000 for them for moving expenses to move out of this ADU. And because he had no lease in place, he had nothing in writing. It was just under the table cash, and there was a disagreement that came about, and that's how it started. So
one that's California, Texas, that kind of stuff doesn't fly. And I've never had to do it, but I envision, like, if somebody decides to squat in one of our properties and they don't want to leave, we can't get help from the police, they're gonna leave at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna wait them out. They're gonna leave. I'm gonna get in the house and we get rid of all their stuff. And they come back and they try to tell the police, like, this is my house. Like, I don't know what these people are talking about. This is my house. Here's the proof that I have. This is my house. Where
see, in California, you'll go to prison for that.
Yeah,
and
which
they'll
is
give the
wild.
House, they'll award the house to the person. But we just with everybody that with a
little different Texas,
it is. It's the wild west out there. But yeah, so we talk with, because we are taking on co-hosted properties, and that's a question people always get. So we just educate them on making sure you're staying on platform, and if we're taking a booking off platform, and having the proper lease in place, and doing your due diligence and screening people, and just making sure you're not getting into that situation to start with.
I have a question, Vivian, for you. When you were talking about your education and kind of helping people make that transition from short-term to midterm, is that something you're seeing market specific in the Austin area, or is that, do you see a lot of midterm rentals in Austin, or is this like a much larger initiative that you're working on for different markets?
It's a larger initiative. At the end of the day, midterm rentals, the strategy is a lot more high touch than short-term rentals. A lot of people are confused at how do you get leases signed on Airbnb and all these different things. And I've been doing this for 5 years, where I do get leases signed on every reservation that comes on Airbnb. I get a rental agreement signed. I get a credit card with a $500 deposit on all stays. I use AI to screen that credit card for any credit card fraud. I get their ID and I get a selfie from them. This is for every reservation on Airbnb. If you're doing these things on the forefront of your booking, you're going to avoid those squatter situations. And it's not guaranteed, right? But you're going to avoid those bad guests, because they're going to find some other sucker that doesn't have systems in place.
Right. They're not going to go through those processes. Yeah.
No, they're not going to go through those processes to scam you. And honestly, it's been a proven concept for my business. Do I get pushback? Sometimes, very, very little though.
Mm-hmm.
But even for a short stay, I have people that are comfortable giving me a $500 deposit for a two-night stay. Because when I'm collecting that money, I'm able to hold the guests more accountable for their stay, and it reduces my downtime so that I'm not worried about someone trashing my property and then having to cancel a future booking because now my property's out of service. By having those guests held accountable, and I'm also accountable to them for having a great stay, I just think I run a better business that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think if you get somebody that does push back, is like, no, I'm not going to do this, that's probably the person that you don't want coming into your property
Exactly.
anyway. That's a good indicator. That's a problem.
I mean, a hotel's not going to let you stay unless you give them their ID. They're going to collect a credit
And a
card deposit for
Yeah.
incidentals. And then every one of us is signing that little black box at the check-in desk. Nobody knows what's inside that black
No.
box. We just put
Yeah,
a sticker
exactly.
there,
Nobody
right?
reads.
I don't even think you can read it. I think it's literally just sign away.
It's just, exactly. You can't, there's nothing for you
Yeah.
to see. You just sign in the
Yeah.
black box. You
Yeah.
have no idea
That's a
if
good
you
point.
sign your children away.
It's so
That's
true.
a really good point. What would you say to somebody that's considering a midterm rental? Maybe they have a short-term rental, or they were planning on short-term rental, and their city just outlawed it, like we're seeing here in California and a lot of other cities. I know Texas, I think, is cracking down on that in some of their cities as well. But again, it's not a real known strategy. A lot of people have never even heard of a midterm rental. We hadn't heard about it until 2 years ago, 3 years ago, maybe. So it's a relatively new term for everybody, really. But what would be your advice on getting into your first midterm rental?
You have to choose a strategy. You have to choose if you're in short-term rentals or if you're in midterm rentals. You can't do both because, well, you can do both if you prioritize midterm rentals first, but you can't prioritize short-term rentals expecting to succeed in midterm rentals because
That makes sense.
people in the short-term rental space, they love seeing future bookings. Today's February 12th. They love seeing bookings for May long weekend. They love seeing bookings for July 4th. They love seeing bookings for Labor Day. Midterm rentals, the moment you have those bookings is the moment you've taken yourself out of the search for an available property.
Mhm. Yeah.
So what I teach is you can still take those short bookings, but only take them between now and the next 14 days or the next 3 weeks, whatever you decide is your business decision. But anytime in the future, you should really be prioritizing midterm rentals and then stuffing the gaps with short-term stays.
That makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
We don't have that option, but for people that do have that option
Yeah, I
to do
think-
both, that definitely helps with those gaps.
Yeah.
All right. So what is your guys? I mean, you guys kind of had a long journey in this, and you're figuring out your game plan and kind of where you're going. Obviously, pivots along the way. But what is your guys' end game? What's your long term goal with everything? Where do you guys see yourself when you're 80 and enjoying the fruits of your labor? What's your future look like?
Living somewhere besides the United States,
There you go.
Yes.
somewhere it's a lot more affordable.
Yeah. Well,
When we do travel, whether it's every place I travel, I use like start looking at how much the houses cost here, what's cost of living, and when we were in Barcelona last year, like, all right, you going to move to Barcelona, or if we go to Thailand, like you look at the cost of living there, it's like, ooh, like we can live like
Yeah.
kings in Thailand. We can retire right now, things like that. So, yeah, I think the plan would be traveling, obviously, in the future, and living somewhere where your dollar goes a lot farther than it's going to go in the United States. It's only getting more expensive all the time. So.
well, yeah, you keep printing money, that dollar just doesn't go as far. So they're not helping us out much.
Yeah, James is one to always think about vacation. I'm always thinking about the next business strategy.
Okay, so I am James in this, and Josh is Vivian.
Yeah,
Where are we going?
I would say, like right now, I have a property management company. I would love to see that franchised across the nation at some point because I've founded this brand called Hestia. Hestia is the trusted brand in midterm rentals. My goal is to have a brand standard when it comes to temporary housing. When we think about what corporate housing providers do, the people that relocate the executives for Apple and Google and Microsoft, they never use Airbnbs. Why? Because Airbnbs don't have a standard. You could walk into something that has 4 forks and 3 knives and 2 cups. I've seen it myself.
Mm-hmm.
Or can we say, let's train people to become professional hosts, use professional tools to screen guests, have a brand standard, a check-in process, be professionals in the space. My property management company is Hestia 360, which is the full service. And we're leading the charge in the Austin market. I'd love to build that out to franchises in the future. That's probably like a 5-year thing. And then with our personal investment properties, we have some DSCR loans that are going to mature by January of next year where we're not having to pay the prepayment penalty anymore. So I'm hoping that we can sell those and turn those 1031 them into apartment buildings or something, and be able to flip an apartment building.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can make a lot of equity. If you can find an apartment building that has a value add, you can make some quick equity gains. We have a 14 unit apartment building in Texas that we're renovating right now and kind of getting it to operate a little more efficiently. And then we're probably on about 4 years, probably another 4-year plan. It was a 5-year balloon on that. So we got another 4 years to get that operating and get all the rents up, and then, push appreciation on that cap rate and then exit. So that's kind of what we're just kind of getting our feet wet with that.
I love what you said, though, about just the brand standard, because there is nothing like you were speaking my language with, coming into a kitchen of an Airbnb, and it's like, did they go to the dollar store and or Goodwill and piece things together? It's so awful to me. Just having a standard and having everything that's something that's really important to us as well. And I wish was more important to others. So I love that you're implementing that. It's amazing.
And Hilton Hotel is on my TikTok feed all the time. Hilton Hotel actually has ads that are basically trying to get people to go back to the hotel model. They're literally there's a couple that walks into a house where there's dead flies all over the house or whatever it is. It's oh, you don't like it? You like a more predictable stay? Think about a Hilton Hotel. So they're attacking those.
It's a good strategy.
Right. They're attacking the Airbnb hosts because there's so many bad ones out there.
Mm-hmm.
But I also believe that the good ones deserve a brand that represents us, you guys included.
Right.
You guys have experienced what it's like to get the inspection done.
Yeah, it's a very rigorous, very thorough, yeah, absolutely. I feel like it's a kind of a badge of honor being able to put, a Hestia certified property on our listings.
I believe it.
Definitely.
And we're still really new, right? So we're still really developing that brand, that reputation. But all the insurance housing providers that I work with know that before we move any guest in, we're going to inspect that property. We're wiping our fingers across those baseboards, making sure everything's clean. We're going to check that those filters are clean, that the AC works, that the hot water turns and there's water pressure. I think a lot of people take for granted that not every Airbnb or furnished rental that you book is going to have that standard. So our company does that inspection process to make sure that if you're going to pay 3 times rent on a property and it's going to be furnished, let's make sure things work as a very, very basic foundation, and that you're going to have everything you need for an extended stay. So I know it's a huge vision, but I believe it's the right thing to do.
No, I love that. I mean, we personally, we were relocated over summer for a property that flooded, and we had to, the placement company that they put us with was trying to put us in, I understand they weren't local, so they didn't know the area, and where we're at, it might seem like the mile radius made sense in terms of where to place us, but it was not a good area where they were trying to put us. And so I took it upon myself to find our own rental, and it was a decent amount of pushback, I would say, from them initially, but just little things like that where it's know the market where you're trying to put people, and put them into a home that is similar to what they're living in. They were, we're coming from a 5-bedroom home. They're trying to put us in a 2-bedroom with 3 kids. It was just
an extended stay.
An extended stay in a really, really bad part of town. Or there was one that was, it was literally a motel.
It was in a Hooters parking lot.
Yes. And I'm like, no, absolutely not. There's no way. Oh.
So for your listeners, who I'm guessing the majority are homeowners, if you ever face a situation where you need temporary housing, the insurance adjuster is going to put you in touch with a relocation company. That relocation company is going to try and find you a property that they find on apartments.com or Zillow or Airbnb, and they're going to look at their budget and put you in there because they're wanting to save the company money. You, as a homeowner, you need to look at your insurance policy and take a look at what your coverage D is supposed to be. Your coverage D is what pays for your additional living expenses, and you would have a better experience if you go and find something that's suitable for you. Rather than let them, because they're only going to present options to you that fit in the company's budget.
Yeah.
Right.
So
And it took us a little while to get there. Like
It
kind
did.
of fight, like, hey, can we just figure this out? Give us the budget. We'll find something. And we know the area. We want to make sure it's a safe area.
Yeah.
They finally
in
gave us
fact,
the
you can
cushion.
figure out the budget yourself.
Yeah,
Your
that's good to know.
your ALE coverage is coverage D, which is typically 20% of coverage A. Coverage A is your cost to rebuild, and they're going to let you know, like, it's usually an annual thing or a per incident thing. But look at that coverage D. I've seen the numbers in California, they're huge. There's no reason, if you live in a 5-bedroom house and you have a decent coverage D, that you're going to be living in a 2-bedroom apartment somewhere.
So
You know,
bad.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wish we would have known.
I know. I wish I would have
We
known
were
that
just,
too.
we'd never experienced it. We've
Yeah.
helped other people, like obviously renting to them, but we'd never been on the other end of it. So we
Yeah,
just
it was
like,
a good learning experience
And
for sure.
when I
Being
learned
on the other
about
side.
this strategy and how to look at my own insurance policy, I looked at mine and I only had, I think, $42,000 in coverage D. And I was like, if my house burns down, I'm going to be in an extended stay. So
Yep.
I doubled it to about $90,000, and the cost was $65 per year.
oh,
Right.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So that's, I was just getting ready to say that. It's like, if it's 20%, bump it up to 30. It'll probably barely change your
Mhm.
policy. And
yeah.
the instance, hopefully it doesn't, but if it happens to you, you're going to have so much more money for your
Yeah.
ALE when you move
It's a
on.
really, really good note.
Really good
And if you're worried
Yeah.
about where you're staying and you want to get it inspected, call us. We'll make sure the property you're moving
Yeah.
into is going to be a great stay, because
There you
I believe that this is a hospitality model, not a
Mhm.
slumlord landlord model, right? We're here in the hospitality
Right.
business, and that's what we're rewarded for.
Right.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Yeah.
All right. All right, guys. Well, we got a few closing recommendations that we'd like to ask people. You want to go ahead with those?
So, is there a book? I know you talked about a book earlier, but is there, James, do you have a book that you like, or Vivian, another one that you recommend that has helped you in your, whether it's midterm rentals or just your wealth building journey overall?
I mentioned Tax-Free Wealth. Another book that I
Mhm.
love is called Unreasonable Hospitality. And it
Oh,
is a
okay.
story about Will Guidara, who is the general manager of the formerly -- Michelin star restaurant in the world, which was 11 Madison Park. And it starts out the story of how they came in the 50th restaurant, best restaurant in the world, and their whole team was so let down because they were number 50 in the whole world. So it's the journey of them becoming number 1. And the theory is that you should really be cost conscious, but save 5% of that money to really surprise and delight a guest, because that's going to give you that
Okay.
extra boost, right? People are going to remember how you made them feel. So I actually had to apply this recently, actually today. One of my guests who booked 2 weeks on Airbnb, they said, "Hey, I just want to let you know that I was kind of disappointed that your house pretty much backs up to the highway." And she's like, "I'm really disappointed that that was the case." And I said, "Actually, it doesn't." I sent her a map. There's another road that's adjacent to our property before you get to the highway. But at the end of the day, she was disappointed and her expectations fell short. So I told my VA, I'm like, you know what? I don't like it when people feel like they were let down in their experience. So we sent them
Mhm.
warm baked cookies. $20.
Amazing. Love that.
$20, right? The reservation wasn't a ton of money, but that $20 for her to receive a package of warm cookies delivered to her doorstep, I'm hoping that that's going to reverse the bitterness that she feels in the booking. Even though I didn't do anything
Mhm.
wrong, it's about delivering a hospitality experience.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
book taught me how to do that.
Okay. I love that. I think that that's something that not enough people do. Making it right? Even if it's not, like you said, not anything that you did wrong, but just going the extra mile speaks volumes and will leave such a lasting impression for that guest.
Yeah. And then we have all of our properties. It's not a rule, but it's kind of happened this way. And I think it's pretty good policy. All of our properties are within 15 minutes of our house, except for our lake
Mhm.
house, which we rent out occasionally. And uh, people have some sort of issue. A lot of times it's something simple, but I'll see it come through. I'll be like, okay, I'll be right over. I'll be there in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, whoa, well, thanks for taking care of that so quick. I thought this would be like a day's thing. Like, no, like we'll get it taken care of. That's, easy, simple, they're super happy because they got it taken care of super quickly.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, our Costa Mesa property, we have 3 properties that are all within like a mile and a half of each other. So it's all, I'm just running around town on the weekends
Nice,
sometimes.
right?
But it's efficient because I'm not having to drive, 30, 40 minutes to the next city over or whatever. So I get that
Exactly.
totally. What about you, James? Do you have a book or maybe a podcast that you get value from that has helped you out?
Tax-free wealth was a good one. Basically, it kind of taught me that, in the United States, basically everything comes back to all the tax rules really come back to land. So it's housing, oil and gas, and it's farming. They're all land, right? So
Yeah.
it's everything comes back to, if you get tax breaks, you've got guys like Jerry Jones who owns the Dallas Cowboys. He close to here, Rihanna Circle is a big apartment complex. So he owned that at one point in time.
Okay.
He didn't own that because he wasn't making plenty of money elsewhere and wanted to be in real estate. He bought that to defer taxes, to write down his taxes. So
yeah, I got to read that book. I know what you're talking about now that you've said it was part of the Rich Dad Poor Dad series, but I got to read that one.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Is there a word or phrase that comes to mind when you think about your wealth building journey?
Yeah, I've got one. Vivian.
Yes, I love the chuckle first.
It comes from her mom. But it's if it can be solved with money, it's not a problem.
Oh, I like that. Okay.
Right. You can't fix things like bad health, cancer, whatever, but all right. So you're, something broke, you got in a car wreck, little things, your car's damaged, you fix it with money. That's not really a problem.
Yeah. I like that a lot.
Wait, but from a real estate perspective though, I think it's important to think about investing, right? If you can't solve it with money, you can't solve a bad school district. So don't buy in a bad school district.
Yeah.
Right?
That's very true.
You can't solve a property that's close to a landfill that smells really nasty in the summertime. You can't solve light posts or electrical wires coming across your property. You
or
can't
if your property backs up to a highway.
Right. Things like that. So apply that principle to your investing and it should be fine, Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I love that. Okay. The last question. How can people find you if they want to follow your educational posts, your journey, anything? Where can they find you?
And James, you're a real estate agent as well, right? We'll put
yes, I'm a real estate agent.
Yeah.
So several ways to follow me. You can go to my website, which is kelleraustinrealestate.com. You can obviously find me on Facebook. Just look up James Keller Realtor, or just look up my name. We do have a YouTube channel. It's called Austin House Flippers. We have about 10,000 followers there.
Awesome.
You can check us out there. So it originally started as just house flipping, but now it's kind of, we're throwing in other types of education in there as well. So that'd be the easiest ways to find me. Vivian?
Right. Mine is vivianyip.com. Easy.
Okay. I love it. Easy.
Very good. We'll put this in the show notes again. Guys, we really appreciate you coming on today. Thank you so much. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. Get out there and make it happen.
Thanks for listening. This has been a production of Rebuilding the Dream Studios.